So what do shipwrecks, Chinese temples, Presbyterian churches, pounding California surf, and redwood stumps have to do with Mendocino, California? So I am about a half a day's drive from San Francisco, coming up the coast, taking my time, and I am in the Mendocino area. And if you're looking for a video just about Mendocino, this is not your video. What we're going to do is we are going to spend some time in Mendocino, but we're also going to get out and about and explore the area because there is so much here. It is worth spending a few days kind of kicking around and enjoying yourself. And that's what I did. I camped north of Fort Bragg in a state campground, and I spent 3 days here. 3 days that I was hiking, exploring Mendocino, beachcombing, doing kind of all of the things that this area has to offer. And I'm going to share that with you guys right now. So let's talk about Mendocino, because Mendocino's got an interesting history, and it started in such a different way than what it is today, all right? It was in 1850 when there was a big shipwreck off of the coast, and a lot of really valuable goods went down with that ship. Scavenger hunters who came to the area to kind of see what they could scavenge off of that ship, they noticed something. And what they noticed was an incredible amount of virgin redwood forests. I mean, forests like you and I can't even imagine. And south of here, 125, 150 miles, well, that was San Francisco. And there was something called the gold rush that just happened, and San Francisco was growing gangbusters and needed lumber. So when Mendocino was founded at first, there was a large lumber mill, and it was built on the bluffs, on the cliffs, and the lumber was kind of milled there, and then they flew it down to these ships on these cables. And I'll see if I can get in the museum and grab a shot of this contraption. You just have to imagine these huge bundles of lumber that they flew or slid on these cables down into the harbor onto these ships. Well, a lot of people lost their lives in this operation, and it was a couple of years later when they decided to move the mill to the mouth of Big River, where they could kind of float the logs down to the mill and then from the mill put them on the ships, and it was a much better situation. There was so much economic activity here that there were 20,000 loggers in the area here in Mendocino, which is kind of hard to imagine when you walk around this town. The number of bars and pool houses and cat houses, the things that were in place, it was a really rough and tumble place. In fact, I think if you dropped me into 1855 Mendocino, I think I might get beat up because I'm not that rough and tumble. It's day 2, and I have an unexpected pleasure. I was driving down the road and I saw a sign for a lighthouse, and I wasn't planning on coming here. And I'm glad I did. I don't even know the name of the lighthouse, so I'll have to figure that out afterwards. 3/4 of a mile walk down here, and it was just absolutely beautiful. And right over there, the sun is going down. Keeping flexible and going with the flow results in moments like this. And I'm just so happy, honestly happy, that I can share this with you guys because it's spectacular. So with all of the logging that was going on, they needed people. And a lot of those people came from New England, believe it or not, because there was a logging industry there and there was opportunity here, so they came. And if you keep a close eye when you're here at the architecture, you'll definitely see flavors of New England architecture in some of the older buildings. Another clue to the New England roots is the Presbyterian Church here that was built, I think, in 1854. Presbyterianism came from England. New England came out to here. Now, the church that is here in Mendocino, it is one of the oldest Presbyterian churches still in operation in California, and it's worth a visit just because it's pretty dramatic. But not all of those laborers came from New England. There was actually a really large population of Chinese laborers who came from the Canton region of China. And I am here sitting in front of the Temple Quan Tai, which was built in 1854. This temple is one of the oldest temples for Chinese people in California. Now that struck me because I recently did a video and was in Oroville, California, and they also have one of the oldest Chinese temples in California. There is so much about the Chinese and their role in the development of California that I simply do not know. And I think I'm going to dig into that in a future video. So I am about 5 miles off the coast in kind of a mountainous area. I kind of went up over these hills and around a windy road to get here. And what this place is an area where there are redwood trees. I actually happen to be in the Mendocino Lumber Company picnic area. It's definitely seen better days, but the trees look okay. These aren't the original virgin forests that the loggers kind of came in here 100 or 125 years ago and took out. These are kind of generations of trees that have popped up. It's amazing to me what a huge role the redwood tree played in the development of California. The San Francisco Bay Area, if you built a house 100 to 125 years ago, you made it out of redwood. In fact, when I was in college, I was an electrician's helper, and one of the things that I did was drill holes in beautiful old redwood beams and joists and other structural members. Now, getting over the hill away from the coast, it got me into this area that is much more rugged. The mountains are steep and they are fully forested, and it's really something to see. I even came across some furry antlered, I'm going to call them elk, but I'm not sure what they were, in this meadow surrounded by these forests. It was actually pretty beautiful. Take a look. So there was a lot of money that was made in lumber up until 1938 when the big river mill closed. And then it was crickets. For about 10 to 15 years, this area was having a rough time. It wasn't until the early 50s when they decided they were going to work really hard at attracting artists to this area. Mendocino is now an artist community where they have a vibrant art scene, and it is a tourist destination. Now, there are a lot of tourist attractions here, but most of them are of the commercial nature. Like you want to buy some chocolate or some socks or something else, you can do that here. To me, the beauty of this place is in its past. And I think if you spend time here and you read up on the history and understand the development of this place, well, at least for me, it gives it a resonance and an importance that really makes it a wonderful place to be. This is a total nerd alert, but you see this pocket right here? That's chopped in there. That's a hole. And if we come around the other side here, You can see that there's another one right about there, okay? And what those are for is when they were logging this, what they would do is they would chop those holes and then they would put planks on either side, okay? And then the men would stand on the planks on either side of that and they would use that big pole saw and they would cut this tree down. Now, you might ask yourself, like, why would they do that? Well, if you look down at the base of the tree, and this is true with a lot of them, they're much fatter. And if you're doing this by hand, that's a lot of effort that they save. One of the things that has really surprised me about being in the Mendocino area is how many state parks there are. The coastal beauty here and the inland kind of rough coastal hills, there is hiking and sightseeing and whale watching, and the natural beauty is astounding. And as much time as I spent here in Mendocino, I no doubt spent 10 times that amount of time getting outside, hiking, exploring the coast, and just soaking in all of this Northern California beauty. It is a tremendous place to be, and I encourage you to get up here and enjoy it. This stump right here, this gigantic stump, what was once a huge redwood tree, when they cut this down and it then started to decompose, the stump behind me, it gave birth to these redwood trees. And all around me, I can see stumps that were cut down when the loggers came through here 150 years ago. And there are little rings of trees around those old stumps where they were kind of reborn and grow among us. I can honestly say this area is just rich with things to do, both in town, but more importantly, out of town. If you are interested in kind of finding some out-of-the-way hikes, some beaches where you might be the only person, and some towns that have seen better days, all of that exists here in Northern California. I used Mendocino as kind of a center point, and I explored the areas around it, and I have enjoyed this so much. And what I've come to realize, even though I've been in California my whole life, there's so much to see here that I'm going to be coming back with Betty and exploring some of the places that I didn't have time to get to this trip.